The Barbarian is a highly aggressive fighter. They are perfect for those of you out there that hate having to think about which skills to use and simply just want to smack demons in the face with massive weapons. This is a perfect class for you. Let's go. This class guide series is designed to get you familiar with the class in Diablo Immortal, how to play them, how to level them up, and some things to consider. Also, if you're enjoying this series, be sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. So how you play as a Barbarian. These are one of the fastest classes, or with the highest mobility in Diablo Immortal. They have like 4 different movement abilities that you can unlock as you do level up, and because of this, they're a very close range class. You're not going to be hanging back really ever. You are going to be in the thick of things at all times, being highly aggressive. All of your skills have low range on them as well, so because of this you are really solid in a single target atmosphere, like against bosses or when enemies are very closely tight knit together. But in terms of like a great big AoE skills, we don't have a lot of options. There's a couple of options, but for the most part you will be focusing most of your attention on 1 or 2 enemies as the main priorities to whittle them down with all of your different effects and different things that you can use. You do also have the ability to debuff enemies as well as buff some of your allies, so you will have a little bit of group interaction with this class as well, but essentially they are a highly aggressive melee class that you're going to be in the thick of things at all times. You do have a lot of health, so you can take a bit of a beating as well, and really you'll always just be in the center of all the action. The best skills for the Barbarian, and we'll start with the primary attack. Now you'll start out with Lacerate, which on the 3rd hit you will get some of your health back, and it's a very good primary attack, especially for this kind of class where we're right in the thick of things, and you will get a little bit of health back. So you do get benefits from using Lacerate, and you absolutely can. However, Frenzy is probably the better option. They do have almost the exact same damage, except Frenzy, with each hit you increase your attack speed up to 5 times, so your primary attack speed is going to get much faster by using Frenzy, which just allows you to do damage much faster, and it fits better with this build that we're going for. Next is Cleave, and Cleave's one of the first skills you get access to. Actually, I think it might be the first skill you get access to, but this is a powerful attack that deals X amount of damage to enemies in front of you, and it causes bleed over 3 seconds, and you get 3 charges for this attack. This is a staple burst damage attack that you use for anything. Once you group them up or things have been grouped up, you'll use this to get that bleed effect and that damage effect off. It does do a slight knockback as well. It's also worth noting that on bosses, you want to kind of stagger out your 3 charges, right? You want to hit them with it at the start of the fight, and then wait that kind of 3 seconds-ish time, then hit them again because of the bleed effect, right? You don't want to blow that load. That sounds weird. You don't want to blow the load of your bleed. Come on, dolls, I'll keep it together. You don't want to use all of your cleaves all at once so that you're actually getting the benefits of the bleed effect. There we go. We absolutely nailed it. Let's move on. Hammer of the Ancients is next. Now, this one is interesting. The Hammer of the Ancients will call forth a massive hammer, slam it down on the ground. It'll do tons of damage, shake the earth, deal additional damage to them over a certain amount of time. As a standard skill, Hammer of the Ancients is relatively average. You know, it's similar to Cleave, where you probably won't be using it that much in terms of what it does. It only has 1 charge. It does have a long cooldown. However, once you start buffing it with legendary effects, which we're going to talk about in a little bit as well, but once you start getting some legendary effects on it, like I'm currently got mine as electrocuted by my main weapon, and the offhand that we get from the battle pass, which gives me a spirit which will summon and deal damage over time as well. So it just makes this attack so much better, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Whirlwind is next. Now, Whirlwind is like your staple AoE attack. You're going to be using this all of the time to deal AoE damage to anything that's around you. It's a channel, so when you hold it down, it'll just spin you around in a spin to win, and you'll just deal damage to anything around you. It's not much more to say, really. It's just a great damage ability. Your last skill will come down to your personal preference of which of the movement skills you personally like. The 3 main options here are Sprint, Leap, and Furious Charge. Now, personally, I like Furious Charge because you get 3 charges of it. It also deals damage as well, so it just gives you a little bit more flexibility to move around faster, especially in rifts when things move a lot faster, whereas Leap has a pretty good cooldown, and Sprint also has a decent cooldown. It also doesn't do damage, so that's why I like Furious Charge, though you can buff any of these with legendary effects as well. Now, once you hit level 50, you'll get access to Wrath of Berserker, which will take the place of this skill. It increases your movement speed and your attack speed, so it fits nicely into this build. Because all the gear is random, I can't tell you exactly what pieces to look for. However, we will talk about the attributes you should be looking out for your gear. Now, Strength is your primary stat as a Barbarian. This increases your damage and combat rating, and Fortitude is your primary secondary strat, which increases your armor penetration, which is it essentially makes you do more damage, and combat rating as well. So they're your 2 main stats you want to look out for. Now, something like Vitality is also pretty important for a Barbarian because you're always going to be in the middle of things. Now, you do get health and combat rating with Vitality, so it's well worth worth picking up. It's not like the best, but you can use it if you do have, say, a strength and a vitality piece. You know, vitality will go a long way for you. Don't forget to upgrade your pieces at the blacksmith as well, so you can easily transfer your ranks to new gear, and it's absolutely well worth doing this to get the extra benefits. Gems are next. Now, for your red gems, tourmaline to increase your damage is absolutely what you should pick up. For blue, sapphire for armor penetration, and yellow, either of the options, whether it be the all resistance or potency, either is really fine for yellow. Let's talk about those legendary gems. Now, trick shot's going to be the first one. This will lower your channeled skills consumption rate, and because whirlwind is a channeled skill, absolutely perfect for this build, fits in nicely. Everlasting torment is a great gem that you should pick up. It just increases your damage overall when you do critical hits. Absolutely beneficial. Always have it in any build. Now, I also really like the Karazhan's Invigoration for this class, because as a barbarian, you're going to be doing a lot more primary attacks than some of the other classes. So increasing your primary attack speed just with a gem, just like we do with our primary attack again, is actually really beneficial to have. And in the same token, Power and Command does a very similar thing, as it increases your primary attack damage by 8% or your skill damage by 8%, alternating those effects every 9 seconds. So both of those gems will increase your damage overall, especially with using a lot of your melee attacks with your primary attacks that you will be doing. Some leveling tips for you guys, and we'll start out with the offhand legendary that I mentioned earlier, which buffs your Hammer of the Ancients. Now, you get this at level 10 in the Battle Pass. I don't know if the Battle Pass is going to change, like if this will, when Season 2 happens, if you'll still get a legendary at level 10. So that may change in the future, but as it currently stands, this is what the level 10 is in the Battle Pass. Now, you get this legendary offhand. It is fantastic for the Hammer of the Ancients skill. Now, essentially what it does is it just creates that spirit version of yourself, which will just attack over a period of time, and it will stun anything that you hit at the same time. Now, my spirit is blue because of my legendary weapon, which is also giving me electrocute on my Hammer of the Ancients. So this is really good to make your Hammer of Ancients a little bit different, a bit more unique, deal more damage over time, and give it more value than just the basic skill. The basic skill can kind of be replaced until you get something like this. When you're just out doing like the main quest, switching whatever your movement skill is, whether you're running Furious Charge or Leap, into Sprint is absolutely beneficial to do, because Sprint will give you a bit more distance in terms of movement speed than, say, Furious Charge or Leap will. So you can clear some of that content faster, because a lot of the main quests you're just running from A to B, so Sprint can really help in that regard to get you from A to B a little bit quicker. And in terms of just like gems and gear and everything, while you're leveling, honestly, just find whatever works best, especially with legendary gems. If you find any legendary gems, it's probably going to give you some kind of a benefit, so you may as well just put it on, because you can always replace it later. In group content or content in general, as the barbarian, you should always be focusing the boss or the elite or whatever it may be, because we don't have a whole lot of range, and it takes a little bit of effort for you to move somewhere else and then attack something else. You want to leave that to some of the range classes or some of the classes that can hit multiple targets with a bit more range on their skills. Whereas as the barbarian, because your attacks have a very short range effect, you can't really hit a boss and hit a lot of the adds. So if you can ignore the adds as a barbarian, absolutely do that. And because you got a lot of health, you can take some of that damage anyway, so you should be fine in some of those scenarios. But obviously always watch out for your health, because it's pretty easy to die in some scenarios if you forget about it. Now, I recommend for you as well to go and check out my other class guides for Diablo Immortal. I'm going to do one for every single class in the game, so you guys can know kind of where to go and get a little bit more information in the classes, maybe before you make a decision if you're going to play them. Thank you for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.